You know, some places hold more than one story, more than one name. Today, we're diving into a legendary Minnesota cave that's known as both a sacred site, Wakan Tipi, and as an object of international fame, Carver's Cave. So let's explore how one single place can hold two completely different and sometimes clashing histories. And just look at this. This is an incredible photo from around 1875 showing the cave's dramatic entrance. You can almost feel the history just seeping out of that sandstone bluff. For some, this was a doorway to the spirit world. For others, it was a gateway to fame and discovery. This quote from 1851 really captures the hype perfectly. See, this wasn't just some local spot. For a time, it was considered one of the great natural curiosities of North America. And all that fame was pretty much launched by the account of one single explorer. Okay, so to really understand this place, we have to look at it through two very different lenses. First, as a deeply spiritual site, and then as a celebrated prize for explorers. Here's where we see those two identities side by side. For the Dakota, Wakan Tipi translates to the dwelling of the Great Spirit. It's a place of reverence. But when the explorer Jonathan Carver showed up, his writings introduced it to the world as Carver's Cave, a natural wonder to be mapped and studied. Two names, two totally different worldviews, all for one location. To get the full picture, we've got to go back, way back. How was this cave even formed? And what is it about this specific piece of ground that made it so sacred to so many people? Well, this cave wasn't carved out by some mighty river. It was formed by a really slow process called piping. Just picture groundwater seeping through this incredibly soft sandstone, carrying away one single grain of sand at a time. Over thousands upon thousands of years, this patient little process created the tube-like cave we see today. And the sacredness of this land? Man, it runs deep. It actually predates the Dakota. These old postcards show the ancient burial mounds from the Hopewellian period located on the bluff right above the cave. What that tells us is that this area has been a spiritual center for many different cultures for literally thousands of years. Wakan Tipi is just the most recent chapter in a much, much older sacred story. Then, in 1766, everything changed. A British colonial explorer arrived, and his description would launch this sacred place into global fame, tying its story to his own forever. And here he is. This is Jonathan Carver. His book, Travels Through the Interior Parts of North America, was a massive bestseller. His vivid description of what he called the Great Cave just captured the imagination of people all over Europe and America. It basically put this place on the map as a must-see destination. And you can totally see why his writing was so popular. I mean, he describes a hidden lake with crystal clear water, a sandy floor, and this is the big one, ancient petroglyphs, or hieroglyphics, carved right into the soft stone walls. He knew he wasn't just documenting a cool cave, but a place of deep human history. But after Carver, things they get messy. For the next 100 years or so, the cave's story is just a tangled mess of confusion, rediscovery, and, unfortunately, some pretty dramatic destruction. This timeline really shows you how confusing it all got. Explorers kept trying to find Carver's famous cave, right? But the area is full of these sandstone caves. So you have guys like Stephen Long finding a different cave, or Henry Schoolcraft mixing it up with the much bigger Fountain Cave. The reports were all over the place, and it created this huge historical puzzle. Was the cave changing? Or were they all just in the wrong spot? And the answer is both. The cave was physically changing, even without any help from people. On the left, you've got a map from 1867, and on the right, a photo from 1870. They both show this feature near the entrance called the Dome. Well, that dome in the ceiling collapsed a long time ago. The soft sandstone was always in a state of slow-motion transformation. But that slow, natural change was nothing compared to the rapid destruction caused by humans. The arrival of the railroad in the 1860s, it was just catastrophic. They carved away the bluff, basically destroyed the cave's entrance, and completely erased those ancient petroglyphs Carver had seen. And over the years, it just got altered again and again, used for everything from a tourist trap to a shelter during the Great Depression. This photo from 1913 is just so fascinating. It shows this moment of real civic pride, right? A community celebrating the reopening of their famous landmark. But it's this weird celebration that stands in total contrast to the physical damage the site had already gone through and would continue to face. The story doesn't end with destruction, though, not at all. Even after it was messed with and eventually sealed off, a pretty surprising story of survival was unfolding in the darkness. Now check out this headline from 1913. During one of those reopening attempts, they found something nobody expected: blind crayfish. This was the very first clue that the cave wasn't just a historical relic. It was a living, breathing, and very, very strange ecosystem. So you might be wondering, how does life thrive in total darkness? Well, the food web in this cave has nothing to do with sunlight. It all starts with stuff like leaves and twigs that blow or wash into the entrance. That debris feeds tiny freshwater shrimp called amphipods, and they, in turn, become food for other critters like minnows and frogs. There's a whole hidden community in that chilly 52-degree water. And maybe nothing shows the cave's stubborn spark of life better than this picture. In 1999, explorers found a beaver's stash of sticks piled up on the sandy beach just inside the cave. I mean, come on. It's this amazing reminder that nature will absolutely find a way, even in the most unlikely places. So, the most recent chapter in this long story brought a new focus on protection. In 2005, the land around the cave became the Bruce Vento Nature Sanctuary. And then, in 2010, to protect its fragile environment, and frankly, for safety reasons, the entrance was sealed up for good. Here we see a historian taking one last look in 2005. It's kind of a bittersweet end to centuries of human exploration, of confusion, destruction, and rediscovery. The door was finally closed, but the stories, all of them, from Wakan Tipi to Carver's cave, they live on. So the cave is inaccessible now. It's a protected time capsule, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Its whole layered history, sacred ground, natural wonder, forgotten ecosystem, it was all hidden in plain sight for so long. What other important stories are out there, waiting to be found, maybe right beneath our feet?